So if you're looking to make a beautiful professional website with very little effort and absolutely no coding at all, but you want a little bit more than you can get from the website builders like Wix and Squarespace, so let's say maybe you want more animations, maybe you want more integrations on there, or maybe you just want a larger library of videos and blog posts, but you're not willing to make the jump to the behemoth that is WordPress with all the different hosting plans and plugins and complications you need to learn about that, then the happy medium for you honestly might be Webflow. So Webflow is one of the fastest growing ways to build a website this year. From my experience, I've seen so many people requesting this video, and so I figured I would make a full tutorial on how to make a beautiful professional website with Webflow, which honestly is very, very similar to Wix and Squarespace, but just a lot more customizable. So like I said, there's no coding, it's very easy to use, and it's definitely more advanced than the first two, meaning that you can change pretty much anything you want to on the entire page. So lots and lots of options, but again, we don't have all the different hosting plans and all the stuff you have to worry about with WordPress. So in this video, I'm going to dive into a step-by-step tutorial, absolutely everything you need to know when you're building your first website with Webflow. So starting from an absolute beginner, creating an account, creating a website from scratch, or creating one from a template, which obviously saves you a ton of time. And I'll show you some example sites as well, just to give you an idea of what you can actually do with Webflow. So with that being said, guys, let's hop over to my desktop and get started on this tutorial. There's definitely a lot that we have to talk about, so be sure to stick around for the entire video. All right, so here we are on my desktop, and the first thing you want to do is actually open up any browser you like. So it doesn't matter if you have a Windows, a Mac, a Chromebook. It doesn't matter for any of that as long as you can access the internet, because the good thing about Webflow is that you can actually do this from anywhere in the world on any machine that you want. So if I start this on my laptop, I can go on my desktop and edit as long as I'm signed into the same account. So it's just a really nice way of building a website. So if we go to santrelmedia.com/webflow, this is going to be a link that we will keep updated to make sure that you're always ending up at the right page right here. So to make sure we start off at the same place, you can type that in, or you can click the link on the top of the description below, and it'll bring us to this page right here. So we are going to click Get Started, and we are going to continue with email. If you want to create your account with email, you could also sign in with Gmail. That's usually what I do, but let's create one right now. Santrel Tutorials at gmail.com. And then we're going to create a password, save our password, and then we're going to give it a name. So we're going to say Mike O'Brien. There we go. Say continue. And it's going to ask you a couple quick questions. So we're going to go through and answer those right now. So we're going to say the first thing, what is our role? So Webflow is going to be a great thing if you are like a web designer, if you do a lot of consulting, because they have some really cool tools in there that like you can build websites for clients very easily. You can share it with people. Let's just say maybe we're an entrepreneur. We're just making this for our own business right now. But like I said, you can do this for so many different things. Webflow is extremely powerful, and it's great for building websites, for building CMS sites, for e-commerce. And so we're going to get into probably some questions asking about that in a second. We're going to say we're just building this for our business, maybe just for myself as well. Actually, let's just go with this one for now. So we're going to say continue, and let's just say we've never built a website before. And then here, like I was saying, so you can build CMS websites, you can build just a regular website builder experience, right? Like you have a lot of different options here. You can make online stores. So we're just going to say a business site right now, something really straightforward and simple. CMS would be better for like a blog, and you'll see that later on in the video. And then, don't forget this little hidden checkbox there. I always uncheck that. I'm not really big on the emails that they send me, so I always make sure that, look out for that one right there, guys. All right, now that's going to bring us into our builder pretty much. We're going to go to our dashboard, I believe. So then Webflow is probably going to make you click through a whole bunch of things. I recommend going through like as quickly as possible because I'm going to cover a lot more than that in this video. But like they tell you how to add like a picture and some headers and stuff like that. So when you end up here, after all that's done, what I recommend doing is actually going up to the top left and clicking on the dashboard button right there. So we want to start off here to kind of make our own website. So other than the one that was their initial project they did, we have some other things around here that we can actually do. So we are going to, from dashboard, we are going to go and create a new project right here. But just to touch on some other things, we also have like their showcase. If you guys want to see like some other websites for what people have made with Webflow, you can go and see like this one right here, something that somebody made with Webflow, and you can actually go and clone this if you like it. And you're like, you know what, that's a really cool website. I want to clone it and then make it my own by changing a couple things. So like you can go and open it up. You'll see right here that tons of stuff's going on. They took probably some footage from Apple, and it honestly looks really, really cool there. So let's go back and we can go to right here. Let's go back to the dashboard, Webflow dashboard, and let's create a new project. So hopefully you have an idea of what your website should look like or what you want it to look like, maybe some images or colors, but you could start off blank, which I'm going to do first just to show you guys the basic fundamentals of what we're dealing with. It's easier to understand that way. And then I'm going to come back here and make another website later on in the video, and we'll touch on some of the other ones. Now, notice that not all of these are free, so they have some really nice looking ones that are like $80, which maybe that's in your budget, maybe it's not. If it's not, they also have some free ones down here. And I do recommend if you're trying to start a website and you want to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible, a lot of times it looks better if you take one of these templates. That's typically what I do. And like I said, there are quite a few free ones you can choose from. But overall, we're just going to go and start off with a blank one just to show you guys what this actually looks like. So they give you every single time some kind of different name. Right now, we got a Dapper project going on. So we're going to create a project. It's going to create our site, and that will bring us to the editor here. And now within the editor, you'll see that it is completely white. Like, I wasn't kidding when I said this is a very blank site. So we see on the left side, we have some fundamental tools. I'm going to go through each of these because this is where you get the stuff you want for your page. And then once you have the stuff you want on your page, you can edit that on the right side. So these are ways to edit what's on your page. This is how you add things to your page. And then the top is how you view your page. So just keep that in mind when we're doing all of this. Now let's start off on the left side and see everything down here. Starting off with the very first thing, the little add elements option. This is where we add some different things to the page. So we can go and add things like a grid, some columns, a container, and these are just going to be like a box because this is, essentially writing code in the background. So if you know anything about HTML or CSS, like, you guys will kind of have an idea of what's going on here, but let's go and first add, you can add a section. So if we want to add a section, that's going to be, obviously just like a big rectangle going across your whole page, and we can add things within that. But essentially the benefit of that is going to be that you can have a big background with a bunch of little things on top of there. So now that we have our first section, let's go over to the right. So let's get rid of that little thing. And this is where you can actually edit everything. So the first thing I want to do is actually go down and change the background. So if you click on the background right there, you can add any color you want. That really doesn't look very good at all though. So you could also add an image or gradient. So if we click on the little plus on image or gradient, that'll give us this. We can go to choose image right there. And choosing image brings us over to the left side on the bottom where we go to assets. Now, I didn't want to get into assets just yet, but it is something that we will need right here. So I might as well cover that while we're here. So assets is going to be any like image files or logos or video files or whatever you have that's going to go on your website. You'll be uploading them and they'll be saved over here, which is very convenient, honestly. So I'm going to go and upload. So you can go to upload right here, a little cloud with an up arrow. And I have a couple pictures I wanted to use. Let's just go with these for now. And actually, did I have some others down here? I think, yeah, let's hold command and upload those as well. So we have a whole bunch of pictures that we'll be using throughout this website. And it automatically chose the first one. So we're going to go back to choose image. And it's getting a little mad right now because it's still uploading the images, as you can see here. But once we have the images, there we go. Okay, so let's just say the one that we want for our background, when you hover, it does give you a display right there, kind of a preview. So let's say we want this one is our first one, and you'll see that obviously that's not what I had in mind at all, being such a narrow little strip, and it's also like tiled. You can see like a tiled view there. So the next thing we want to do is actually go to, let's make it bigger so we can see what we're dealing with. So we can go to padding here, and you can slide this up or down. You can also hold Alt. So if we hold down the Alt key and we slide it, or if you're on a Mac, then it's going to be the Option key. You can slide it, and that'll give you more padding on the top and bottom. So padding for right now, it's just going to be essentially showing you what we're dealing with here. We also have margin. I'll talk about the difference in that later on in the video. But that is essentially what our background is going to be on the top. Now, we can change the position of this, and we can change, essentially, see how that's like tiled? It's kind of hard to see there because it's not super obvious, but this right here is the same thing as the left side. So it's showing the picture like 1.1 times. So instead, we just want one picture stretched across the entirety here. So if we go down here and we go to our picture, so image and gradient, we have some options with that image there. So we can go to, let's see, where was that? Image and gradient. If we click plus there, it's going to make us choose that again. I don't know why. That's like a weird little bug when you click that. Sometimes it makes you do that again. So let's just go back, and this is the picture we wanted. And then here we can go from custom to cover, or you can go to contain. Contain is going to obviously show it twice, so an even number of them. And we're going to just go to cover. So covering is what we want. And then as far as the position of it, we can move it up and down right here. And we can change it to like fixed if we want a fixed position or a not fixed position. So I'm just going to go right here. And let's move it like 15. So that's moving down. Let's go to negative. And let's make it negative like 150 maybe. So that's looking okay. Like you get the idea of what we're trying to do up here, what's going on there. And so that's going to be how you can set up the first, like this is the first section right here. So we can put text and buttons on there. And actually, let's do that right now. So you get the idea now. I'm going to touch on more settings later on, but continuing down on the left side, we have some other items that we can put in. So we can put in containers, which may be a container. So you see how wide a section is right now. If you want to put within a section, you want to put a container, that'll give you a much narrower field to work with. You also, again, see how the section has the background? And then this right here is padding on the top and bottom of the contents of the section. So that'll give you a nice little window of where you actually want to put other stuff. So within the container, we can then add images and text and whatever we want. And I mean, so otherwise, let me just show you guys. If we got rid of this right here, so if we just click on that, click delete. If we wanted to just add text in here, so if we went to like a heading, you'll see it's going to be all the way on the left side, which is why, I mean, we don't want to do that. That's why I was saying the next thing after a section is to add a container, which is putting it right in the middle there. So within the container, now we can actually go and start adding the other things. So maybe we want to add 2 columns within our container. We can go and add, 2 columns within our container. There we go. And so then maybe on the left side, we want a header. So we can go and find a heading, and below the heading, maybe we want, so just to show you guys what I'm doing here, I'm clicking on the left side and dragging into where I want. So we want a heading, maybe we want a little paragraph there. So click on paragraph, drag it over, and you want to hover until it highlights the part you want. Sometimes you'll see the blue line, so right above or below the heading, we're going to go below, and it'll show up right there. And again, this is looking really bad, but keep in mind, we're going to change the color of the font and the background and everything we need to. So now the next thing we want to do is maybe a button. So we're just doing a quick layout here just to see like where things should go, and then we can customize this in a second. Now, one more thing on the plus, let's add maybe an image on the right side. And so I think you guys are getting the idea here of how you can add different things, the general layout of where things go. So section is the big thing, and then you can add like a container, and then you can add columns within the container, or you can add columns without the container if you want it full width there. And so like you see, columns, sections, grid. A grid is another cool thing that you can add just like a whole panel. If you want to have like your blog posts or recent videos, a grid's very useful, but I'm not going to dive into that too much right now. So then down here, let's say, like I said, we want an image, but you could also add a video or a YouTube video for that matter. So let's go in image, and we'll click and drag this one into this column here. So we'll have an image, and we can choose an image, which again, that's why we uploaded our other images in the assets. And so you can hover and choose which one we want. So let's just, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to look especially great for this website, but I'm just showing you guys how you would actually build different things. So let's go and add maybe this one right here. And so with this image, the other thing is I'll go through the settings on each of these, but starting with this image right here, we can actually go into the settings, which is obviously over here, and we can change some things about that. So going down, what we're dealing with, margin is going to be essentially like what's on the, so margin and padding are not really going to be different for some things. Like for example, an image, it's not going to be especially different. Whereas a button, on the other hand, it is actually going to be different. So margin is going to be on like the outside there, and then padding is going to be on the inside, giving you more blue space. So looking at the image right here, that's what you have. You can change the margin and padding on this. So I think it looks fine as it is right now. We can also change the size of this image if we want it to be a little larger or smaller. And so I'm going to leave it as auto. I think it looks pretty good in this setting right here. Going down, we can also change like the X position if we want it to be static, if we want it to be relative to something else, because keep in mind, a really cool thing about this is that this is a dynamic website, meaning that if you go into a tablet or a phone in landscape mode, a phone in portrait mode, the website's going to move around and it's going to look pretty good as long as you set up these things properly. So for now, keeping it static is fine, but just to see the other options, you could set this image relative to other objects on your display here. So that's something that's a little bit more advanced. We're going to keep it static for the beginning of this video. Now, we also have typography, which is not a setting that's relevant to this picture here. And going down, we'll see like backgrounds, again, not relevant, and maybe borders. This is the only one that I would maybe change with images. So if we want like a radius on our border here, you can see the rounded edges on the corners. You can really change that with this slider. So let's go up to like maybe 817 pixels. It kind of gives it a cooler look right there. And then we can also add some other things down here. Once you have a border, maybe you want to add like a shadow behind it. So you can add some shadowy stuff. You'll see shadows there. You can change like the blur of the shadow to make it blend in a little better. And it kind of makes your images just like pop out a little more. So if we click over here, you'll see this kind of pops a little bit more. But of course you want to like tweak this, maybe change it to not so much of a black, maybe more of like a transparent, maybe like a grayish color would maybe look okay, right? So something like that maybe is what you're looking for. Now, those are the settings for an image. You'll see they're going to be similar for other stuff. We can change like settings for this column if we wanted to, or we can go to this heading. And something you might have noticed right there is if you click on the name of what you're using right now, it actually gives you all of the parents of that. So this is a heading in a column, or in a column, which is also in a container here. I don't know why it also called it columns. And this column is in a section. So it has a whole bunch of layers there, and you can actually see them really easily when you click on that. But when you start to deal with more things, it is also useful to have better names for this. So instead of calling this one columns, you can go up to the top and, oh, I didn't mean to click that. So instead of calling this parent right here, let's go back up to that, calling this one columns, we can go up and start creating a class or tag. So we can name this one to whatever we want. So this could be container one. Container one, and there you go. So then you'll have this thing as a name there. And so when you click on this, now you have proper names, and it's really cool because you can actually rename, you can use that name on other things, and it's going to duplicate that. So the example that Webflow gives is if you make this button and you name it something, and that's going to be your class or your tag, and then later if you change that, so let's actually just do that. So if we make this button right here, so we're going to make this button a little bit bigger, so we can go and add some more padding. Like I said, padding is going to add blue on the inside. So let's hold down Alt or Option, depending on what you're using, and we're going to add more padding there, add a little bit more padding on the top and bottom as well. And then the margin is going to be on the outside. So we want more margin on the left side to center this a little better, maybe right there. And then we can go down here and add a border radius so that it's a nice round button there. And then we can change the color to whatever we want. So let's make this like a white button, maybe with black text. So we can go, and typography here is going to allow us to change the color of the text. So we can go and change the color of the text to black. And of course you can change the font. You can change everything about this. You know, let's just go down to Montserrat. That's a decent one right there. And let's change the size of that to 20. So there you go. We have a button right there, and you can change it to say whatever you want, but that's going to be, let's name this instead of button and rename this class to primary button. There we go. So that's the name of that one. Now if we add another button down here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So if we go and add another button, we can add it anywhere. Let's just make it somewhere else in this section. You'll see that, again, the container's here so that we don't have everything like left justified all the way. But just to give you guys an example here. So if we have this button and we want to select a class or tag, we can go down here and call it primary button, and boom, it's using exactly the same format as this one right here. So we're going to just click on that and delete it. But that's just to show you guys how you can do things very easily with that. Now, going up here, the heading, we can go and change the color of this one to maybe white. Actually, that was changing the background of the heading. We didn't want to do that. Click undo on the top. So the undo and redo is super, super useful. I mean, I use that all the time, as you can see right here, but I wanted to go to typography. There we go. The color of the typography, we want this to be white, and we want it to be bold. Maybe we want, again, same font there, but maybe the boldest we can get. Almost boldest. And let's change this to maybe like 55, slightly larger heading. And again, maybe we want this one to be center justified. So if we make this in the center, then you'll see the button down here is not right. So maybe we want to add more padding on this side. So let's click on that and move the slider until it looks centered. There we go. And then right here, we're going to center this and change the font color for this as well to make it white so you can see what's actually going on here. And if you're looking at this and you're saying, you know what, that's great, but I really wish this was spaced out different vertically, I think you guys can probably guess by now the way we'll do that is, again, by adding more margin or padding. So here, we're just going to add some padding on the top to bring this down a little bit to right there. And then we're going to add a little padding below this as well. So padding on the bottom is 10 right now. We're going to add a little bit more and a little bit more above that as well, just to give you a nice spacing. Okay, so there we go. So that's just an idea of how you can start modifying things like that. But continuing down the left side, I know we kind of just jumped right into this. I hope that wasn't too fast for you guys. So let's go over to the left side and see other things. So the first one, like I said, adding elements. You have the different layers of the elements you can add. And as we scroll down, there are so many different things you can add in here. It's not the easiest to find what you're looking for always. Sometimes you have to scroll around and like they all kind of look the same. But regardless, you can have like drop-down menus, some navigation bars. So if you want like a nav bar on the top, you can go to the top of your body and add that there. Cool, right? And with each of these, they'll all have different settings. So here in the nav bar, you'll see there's some settings down here that are slightly different from if we had a picture, for example. So that's how you do all that. Now we also have layouts here, and layouts is really cool because it's going to make things so much easier when you're trying to, like if you look at what I just made right here, you can very easily do that with like this right here, a feature section. If you look at that, it does pretty much exactly what I just did, except you don't have to put it all there yourself. So that's a really convenient feature. I actually use these the most when I'm doing things. So or instead of having this navigation bar on the top, so if we go up here, click on nav bar, click on delete, that'll get rid of that. Instead, let's go and add a layout. So you can see right here a sticky nav. Let's click and drag that up to the very top, let go, and it goes right up to the top. So that's everything you can do with adding them. And again, we'll touch on this a little bit more later on in the video, but let's continue down and see what else we have in this screen right here. So the next thing you'll have is symbols. I'm not really going to get into symbols too much in this video, but symbols are definitely something that it's cool, very powerful for sure. But I'm not really going to touch on those too much. So we can go down to the navigation, which again is why I said it's important that you name all of your little things. So not all of them, but as many as you can once you start having a more complicated design. So name your buttons, your text boxes. So then when you're looking at this, when you're trying to find out, like if you have a lot of things going on, it can be tough to click on exactly what you want. And so if you're trying to click on like this column, like see how it could be kind of tricky to click on exactly the column. It's nice that you can just go right here and say, I want to work on the column right now. And you can go into that and change the settings on the right side. So that's why navigation is so useful for me, at least. And then going down here, we have pages. Obviously, with the website, you're very likely to have more than just one page. So as you can see with this one, it suggests like a features or a pricing page or something, right? We can make more pages if we want, but you do have to upgrade your site, which is why, there's other things you have to do. You have to upgrade your site for as well. So for example, having your custom domain, stuff like that. So I think we should probably talk about that right now before continuing down. Now, looking on the right side, if we go to publish, it'll say you have to upgrade your site plan in order to get a custom domain. So we are going to click on that. And you'll see they make it pretty easy to find, like right there, upgrade your site, upgrade your site, upgrade your site. So like, yeah, you can use Webflow for free, but if they do want you to upgrade your site, which does unlock a lot of potential. And so I usually recommend it. They're usually not that expensive. So if we go to upgrade, let's go to upgrade site plan and we'll see the options here. So you can see they have a bunch of different ones. So $12 per month for a basic one. For a lot of people, that's probably all you need. But if you're trying to make more of a blog type thing or a news site, you'll see like all the CMS driven ones. It makes sense. $16 a month is going to be really helping you out. You'll have a lot more form submissions. You can have far more monthly visits. I don't really like that they kind of cap you based on monthly visits. So, they pretty much force you as you get a bigger website to pay more. But hopefully once you have 1 million monthly visits, the extra $20 a month, that really shouldn't be a big deal. So looking at those, that is the basic website ones. But if you're making an online store, which again, is really powerful, you can go over to e-commerce site. And these are also, obviously very, very stratified. So depending on how many sales you're making, it might be worth it to go to the 0% transaction fee. And you also have unbranded email receipts, which is nice. And they kind of, again, keep an eye on your sales volume, which is interesting. But regardless, it's something that I like that you can use Webflow to make websites like this, like e-commerce websites, because a lot of times I find that Shopify and like Square Online and BigCommerce, they're a lot harder to really customize your website, at least to the degree that you can with Webflow. So with that being said, you can choose any of these, and we're going to just like add maybe the basic one, for example, and then we'll go and check out. So let's head back to our project here. And going down on the left side, we have CMS collections. Again, more advanced. I'm not going to touch on that in this video. And then I probably shouldn't have clicked on that actually. So right here, if you want to make an e-commerce site, I'm not going to do that in this video. That's an entirely separate video. If you guys want to see that, go on down and click the subscribe button, leave a comment, and by the time you do that, I'll probably already have made that video. Then we can go down to assets, which again, I already explained that to you guys. That's going to be essentially just like the pictures and videos you want throughout your website. And the good thing is they're easy to just kind of click and drag anywhere. So if you just want this, like a picture right below this one, it'll just plop a picture in right there. Again, it is left aligned if you don't put it within like a little container. So we're just going to delete that. But I was just showing you guys for a second how easy it is to add those. So let's go and click delete. And then the last thing on the left side is going to be our settings, which is for search settings right there if you want to have that. Also backups. It is nice that you do have backups automatically once you have an upgraded plan. So if you accidentally just mess up your site one day or you change something that you don't like, you can go back and find some of your older sites and just automatically, throw them back in and revert to those. So that's everything on the top left. But if we go down to the bottom, we have some other view related things here. So if you hover over them, they should tell you. This is like hide element edges. So, just like the blue boxes go away. I don't really think that's a big deal. We can also hide empty elements if you have those. You can go and see some like grids. So kind of hard to see with this picture, but you'll see there's like some grids on the top and the bottom there, just to help you align things within your website, make sure everything's centered. And then we can go down to like X-ray mode, which is going to be everything's just like black and white, making things pretty simple to see. You can see it looks a little different, and so we're not gonna do that right now. Then below that we have just a search bar and a little like tutorial thing if you want that. Hopefully you don't. Hopefully my video covers your questions. But then the next thing I want to talk about is actually across the top. So looking across the top, we have the different views here. And this is what gets interesting with Webflow. So like I said, it's a dynamic website. It's responsive, which means if you make this for a tablet, or if you make this on your desktop view right here, you can go into the tablet view and things will automatically change. But if you don't like the way they are here, you can also change them for this specific website. So really what I'm saying is you don't have to make a separate mobile website, but you can make your primary one and then change it on tablet, and everything for tablet applies to everything below that. And then everything for sideways mobile applies to this and whatever's below that. So just to show you guys exactly what I mean here. So let's just change the section right here. So the section has way too much padding when you're in this view. So we're going to shrink that down. Actually, let's undo that and shrink both down simultaneously. So hold down Option or Alt, depending on what you're using. And we're going to go down to here. Let's go down to that size right there, and we are going to change it so the background is doing what it's doing right there. There we go. So then actually, maybe that doesn't even look good. Maybe we just want to change it to just a straight up color. So we can go and change that right now. So let's go color. So just a nice solid black background, which is not working. Instead, we want to... Oh, sorry, that's because it was changing it for the entire body. Let's go to the section. So we'll go to section, and then we'll go and delete that, and we have a black background here. But if we go back to this one, you'll see that we have the original photo, and then as you go down, because we changed it for tablet, it's also going to be changed for mobile. So black background, and you'll see that it changes things like that. Now, and then another example is maybe on sideways mobile, we want this to be relocated, or we can just change it. Maybe instead we want like a different color, or maybe the font, we want it to be extra bold. So let's just go make it like extra bold, and you'll see this will apply to the phone view, the mobile upright view, but it won't apply to the tablet or the desktop view. So that's really cool. But do keep in mind that, you should be making your first website on desktop so that everything trickles down. But if you are editing something on, say, mobile here, you don't want to just go and hit delete. Because if you just delete this, like if I go and hit the delete button, you'll see that it is actually affecting all of them. So our button is now gone. Let's undo that, and our button will come back. So that's a really cool thing across the top. I highly recommend you obviously start with desktop and work your way down through the other devices. And I think it's one of the better editors out there when you're trying to make a responsive site. Now on the right side, I already showed you guys the very handy and really essential forward or the redo and undo buttons. You definitely need to know those. I'm using those all the time. Then here we have the changes are saved. It auto saves everything. So like I said, if you just close out of your browser, go to another computer on the other half of the world, sign in, your website is ready to go, and you can keep editing from anywhere. So really cool thing right there. We have our code if we want to export that. So, I mean, I mentioned before that you don't need to know any coding to work on this. It's all very visual, like I showed you. But let's just say you have like a web developer that maybe you're working with, or maybe you are a web developer, then you should definitely be going in here and you can export your code, the CSS, the HTML, JavaScript right there, your assets again right there. And so it's really useful that you can export. I mean, you have to upgrade your plan, which I didn't for this tutorial, but you definitely should. So you can export that and they can do all kinds of different things, make your website load faster and more efficient. It's something that when you're optimizing it, it's a good thing to do. So then after that, we'll see that we have right here, not something really that exciting. We can share the project, we can publish it, which I was showing you before. And if you upgrade, you can go to your custom domain, or you can stick with the kind of like a temp domain they're going to give you. So this is useful when you're just making your website at first and maybe you don't want your whole audience to see that. Or if you're transferring from maybe like you were on Wix before and you're moving to Webflow, then this would be a good way to build your website before you go and publish that. So if we go and publish that, it'll say that you have to verify your email address. So I'm just going to head over and do that real quick. All right, now I just verified my email, but sometimes it takes a few minutes. So we're going to come back to this later on in the video. And so then the other things on the right. So I know I showed you guys the settings right here, like the basic settings, but there's a lot more to that. So you'll see the other 3 tabs. Maybe you already noticed them before, but let's just say that, you want to set up some animations, some interactions is what they're calling them. So if we go to like this iPhone one, as you go down, you'll see some animations like, see how that kind of fades in and out as you go down, things move like that right there. There's a lot of stuff going on that's animations, the way these things pop up. And it's a little clunky when you scroll like with a wheel on your mouse, but on a touch screen, this looks really, really cool as well. So maybe that's something you want to set up. So if we go back to our Mike O'Brien's Dapper project here, we can set up these animations. So if you click on the item you want, so let's just say this image, we want to set up, the first thing is a trigger. And you can trigger this based on either the element itself, so interactions with that. For example, if somebody clicks on it, if somebody hovers over it, if you scroll, so that's in view all of a sudden. That's I think what a lot of the iPhone stuff right there I think was from scroll into view. But you can also go down here and see some other page triggers, which is like when the mouse like moves around somewhere, or when while the page is scrolling. So when the page loads, for example, I'm going to do element triggers for this one. So an element trigger would maybe when that mouse hovers, for example. Just an easy one to imagine, an easy one to demonstrate as well. So this will work on all of them. Actually, let's just do this only on desktop, just to show you guys that. And the action, when we're hovering onto it, we can say that maybe we want it to, there's some weird ones for how it appears and disappears. I'd rather do an emphasis one. This is probably more useful on a button, but I'm just showing you guys on a picture just to illustrate what we're doing here. So you could choose any one of these. Maybe we want like Jello. I'm actually not sure what Jello is going to look like. But maybe that's what we want right there. And then we also have hover out, so you can, again, do all the same things, or you could start an animation, and I'm going to show that in a second. So let's just say maybe for the heading right here, we want to start an animation. So this one could be like an element trigger. Again, maybe whenever the mouse hovers over it, we can start an animation, and the animation is really a lot more custom than the other one, so you can change some really specific settings. So let's just click on, it's going to be timed animation, so we're going to click on the plus, and we can add all kinds of actions here. So the first one maybe is we want like the scale of it to change. We want the scale to, way down on the very bottom, you'll see the scale X, Y, and Z. So we can change the scale at different times. So you can start off and say that the initial state is having the scale way smaller. So we'll say it's like, actually we don't really need that one. We just need these right here. We can set it like that. And then we can add another point right here. So if we go and click plus, and this is also going to be scale, then right here, half a second later, you can go and add this. And this could be like normal full scale. So this could be like 1. There we go. So, and then you can also change this. If you don't want it to be half a second, you could change that duration to instead like maybe a quarter second or a full second. Let's just say 1 second, which is painfully long. But that should, when you hover over it, like start small and then gradually expand into that. I'm not really sure when you'd use this exact situation, but again, I'm just showing you guys how you can do some different things. But you could also add like right here, if we want some other things going on, maybe we want like some rotation or something, maybe, I don't know. And so we can have all kinds of things going on, but I'm actually just going to get rid of the rotation. But I was just showing you guys, you can actually set up all kinds of multiple things going on at the same time, lots of animations. I mean, obviously be careful with that. Because, I mean, the more you add, the more that can break with your website. You don't want things to load in a weird way and give people like a really weird experience. But nonetheless, it could give you a great experience if it's done correctly. And then, of course, the other tabs on the top. So if we click on heading here, you'll see that this one, the settings, you can actually change it. So maybe if it's not an H1 header, which is like your biggest, most important one, you can make it like H2 instead, or H3, H6, doesn't matter. So let's go and just leave it as H1 because it should be H1 right here. But you can go and add some attributes here, some more technical stuff going on. But for the most part, what I use when I'm making a website, like the majority of the time, it's either this tab right here, the actual style editor, or the actual interactions. So cool thing is when you're on the side, if you just click S, you have those little shortcuts. So you can see right there, it tells you when you hover over it, or sometimes it does. There we go. Style is S. So this is D if you want to go to settings, and then you can go through like G for that one, and H for that one. So cool that you can just kind of get through those if you click on settings and you're like, oh man, I just need to like switch between them so fast. Really great way to be more productive and save time. So that's everything in this interface right here for the most part. We can go up to pages right there. Like I showed you, that's going to just kind of be the same thing as this button here. And you can go to preview. So you can toggle preview and it's going to show you like just the painful animation we just made. Just like bounces back and forth. Oh man, that's so bad. Oh man, that's terrible. Anyway, and then if you hover on, oh man. Yeah, so there's our website right now. You guys, you get the idea though. You know what I'm showing you guys. So that's how you would set up a lot of different things on your website. Now let's actually go back, and I talked about how you probably don't want to start your first website from scratch. Maybe you do if it's just a simple, like a really simple landing page. But let's go back to where we were. So we were going to exit this. Click on not that button. Click on the eyeball. There we go. And let's just say, so it automatically saved. Let's go back to our Webflow dashboard here. Actually, one other thing, now that I bring this up, it's important to note the project settings is something else that we should definitely touch on. I should have mentioned this earlier, actually. So project settings is where you can rename it. So if it's Michael Bryan Sword Adapter project, and then we have a subdomain here, sure, whatever. We can add it to folders. So you can have, if you have a whole bunch of projects going on, maybe if you have some clients you're working with, or maybe you have multiple businesses, it's nice to organize things with folders. You also have your icons down here. So this one right here is going to be essentially on the top. You see the little logo right there and right there. So we can upload one of our own. So maybe like a cheesesteak one that I had before. Let's add that one. Unfortunately, that's not the right size. It has to be 32 by 32. You get the idea of how we're doing that one. And then like a web clip image as well if you want that. Time zone is going to be important for anything you put on your website, like your hours, stuff like that, right? Website password, showcase. There's a lot of things down here that you should read through. But going through the top, we have other things like SEO is extremely important. So SEO is going to be, again, a little bit more technical, but if you want to do things like Google site verification, if you want to go to, I believe this is going to connect it to Google Search Analytics, or Google Search Console probably. So you put these little API keys in there. You're just going to paste them. That's a separate video, but it's really easy to do with this. So it's good to know where these things are. So when you are setting up Google Analytics or Google Search Console, it's going to ask you, it's going to give you a code and say, go and paste this like somewhere in your website settings. And then you just come here, paste it, say save changes, and it's really easy to do. Oh yeah, it is Search Console. I was right. It says it right there. So going through the other ones, hosting is something that you're going to choose a different plan right here. But you could also export the code and do whatever you want with that. I think for the most part, you're just going to be doing like one of these, super easy. The editor, if you have any other people that are allowed to edit this, and the branding as well. And they keep showing you these things because admittedly, I did not upgrade my plan because I don't plan on using this website. My Dapper project here is purely for educational purposes, so I don't feel like paying for this right now. But if you do, you go to billing, and this is going to show you like your site plan, your invoices, if you have clients that you're billing, stuff like that. If you go to forms, I didn't add any forms in here, but if you do, this is essentially going to change a lot of like where your forms go. You can set up a little reCAPTCHA here to make sure that the people that are emailing you are not bots. Really clean up your inbox quite a bit because, I mean, trust me, I've gone down that rabbit hole of not setting this up. It's important to set that up. And then we can go into fonts. It's really cool. You can actually integrate fonts here from 3 different sources. So Google Fonts, just so easy. You can just find like any Google font you want. So for the most part, like, look how many there are. There's so many. Then we can go down here in Adobe Fonts as well. I don't really use Adobe Fonts that much, but you need an API token if you have Adobe Fonts, like in an account with them, whatever. And then you can also upload custom fonts as well if you have them saved as one of these formats. We can go to backups, like I showed you guys before. The backups, it saves them automatically, and you can just go and restore them if you liked what you had before. And then integrations is kind of like what I showed you over here with SEO. See how we have like Google site verification. In integrations, you can have probably like MailChimp, stuff like that. I don't see MailChimp, but like Facebook Pixel is going to be one, Google Maps, things like that. So Pixel is going to be like if you're advertising on Facebook or if you have a Facebook ads account, then you can set up pixels on this website here, which means that when people are visiting you, you can track when certain things happen. Like anytime somebody goes to your shopping cart, then you can like sign them up for a little category of targeted ads. It gets really, really intense really quickly. And I'm not going to obviously touch on that in this video, but the last thing is some custom code if you're interested in that. So those are your settings right there. But like I said, let's go back to the dashboard now and actually go and add a new project. A new project here, and we can go down and find really any one of these. Let's do a free one right now because I'm being a little bit cheap today. I guess I didn't upgrade my plan. Let's go and view all of the free ones. And look at that. We got lots of free options here. Let's go and say this one right here is what we want. I like the color there. I like what they're doing. Let's go and use this one for free. You can also preview it if you want, but I'm going to, so I can only have 2 unhosted sites. Okay, so let's go back and get rid of my first one. So let's go back there and say my initial project. We are going to delete that. And we are going to confirm by typing it. Okay. Man, they really make you work for that. Okay, we're going to delete that forever. -1. There we go. So now we can go back to what I wanted to do. Let's go down to the free templates, view all of them, go down, choose the one we want. We're going to use it for free. And then boom, it takes us over to create the project on our personal account as opposed to somebody else's account. And we can go and create the project. And this is a wondrous project. No, this one's best. My best work ever. Absolute best project. Creating the site. And that'll bring us into, again, the same editor that I was just showing you guys. But now when you're starting with a template, you'll see that, I want to show you guys this because it is a little bit, they're usually a little bit noisier, a lot more going on because you're not building it from scratch. It's not nearly as simple. But the point of this is to see how to actually edit everything. So the first thing I like to do is actually go down to X-ray mode. I said before that I don't use it much, but you can see right here like what they were doing and how things got to where they are. So if you're like, what's going on? Why is this text right here? You'll see that it's actually a heading in the middle. So it's not really like in a container as much, but they have it all the way across and then like a buffer on the left side and a smaller one on the right side, or rather probably padding. As we go down, you'll see that they'll show you different things like margin and padding are going to be, I believe, different colors. So like blue and green. And so you can go down and see how everything's looking. So once we have an idea of how this site is laid out, let's turn off X-ray mode. Is that what it's called? X-ray mode? Yeah, X-ray mode. And we can actually start editing what we're doing here. So the first thing is you can click on any one of these and change the font or the text that we actually have written there. So let's just say this is going to be like photography. And this is going to be like a personal portfolio or something. And so the cool thing is you can actually go into any one of these, and if you highlight that, you can actually make this into a link if you want. So you can insert a link, it underlines it and makes it look weird. So you can go and like change the settings for that. But if you wanted to do that, you can. That's why I generally kind of avoid links on like big text like that. And so instead, we would want to set up like this button. And so like I showed you guys before, if we look at this button, we can go over here and start customizing this button. So we're going to put a lot more padding on the left side to bring this over towards, not padding. See, that's what I was saying. You want padding on the inside. You want margin on the outside. Let's go and put margin on the left side. Put that maybe like right there. And if we want some padding, you can make the button wider, but I'm going to leave it as that. And you can actually customize what the link is, where the link is going. So right here, if you click on the little settings button, it gives you a convenient little window below there to change where this button is actually linking to. So you can set it linking to like a URL. It could be a page within your site. It could be like all these other things, like an email form. It could just be like a phone number. So if it's on a phone, on mobile, at least that would be what I would recommend for sometimes, so that people could just call you directly. On a desktop site, that doesn't really make as much sense. Or we can go to a page section as well if you have like anchors throughout your page that you want to go to. So it's going to just leave it as a link and set it up for https santrelmedia.com. There we go. So that's going to be our button there. And if we go to preview it, we should be able to click on that button and it opens up santrelmedia.com. There we go. Exactly what we were looking for. And then click on the eyeball again to get out of preview. And that's like the first thing you'd want to do. But we can also go to like this section here. This entire body, I believe, is the background. No, this section is the background. Section. See how right there, it's kind of like really hard to click on if you want like a bunch of different things. That's where it becomes easy to go to the navigation on the left side and just kind of go through and change. So the background of this is not the body. It is not the hero. It is the section. There we go. So that's what the background is. And it looks like they have some kind of fade going on in the bottom corner there. So it's a linear gradient. There we go. You can see that right there. If we click on that, you can see if we want to change like the gradient to be a little bit higher, or we can change the color. Let's actually bring it down a little bit brighter on the left side. There we go. So you can change stuff like that. So that's how you're going to be going through a lot of these different templates. Obviously, whatever your website is, whatever you're trying to do, whatever template you used, it's all going to be so different. But the idea is that you want to be going through in this process here, or at least this is how I do it when I make websites here. It just makes things a lot easier to first identify what they did and then figure out how to make it yours rather than just like deleting stuff and replacing it right away. Because a lot of times the way they built it, it makes a lot of sense. I do usually like the way they're doing things. So right here, we have see the little lightning bolt right there? That probably means we have some animations going on. So it says when it scrolls into view, it looks like we have one. There we go, scrolling into view. We have, what is our action there? We have an animation. There we go. Okay, so that's how you'll see that the little lightning bolt on the side. You can get rid of that if you want just by clicking on the little trash can. So if we go back here, you'll see scroll into view. We have one. We can go and hit the little trash can. That'll get rid of that if we want. There's also a page load one as well. We can go and get rid of that one as well. And so, that's how you see how things are actually happening on this site. So guys, that's probably everything I wanted to show you in this video. So that's how you're going to make a pretty good looking website, honestly, how long has this been? About 40 minutes right now, 50 minutes, not really that long of a video. And again, I was like almost making like two different little landing pages. So very easy to do. You just have to take some time to actually get used to stuff, but Webflow is definitely really, really powerful. And it's something that, while it is a little bit more technical, it can be very rewarding, and it gives you websites that don't always look just like a cookie cutter website. So as much as I love Wix and Squarespace, and I recommend them to a lot of people out there, it's still great to be able to make a little bit more custom of a website, at least for some situations. Like if you are an artist and you just really want your website to be a little bit better than what you can make, you want those animations in there, and you want to make it exactly like you have the idea in your head, Webflow is a great way to do that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. Leave any comments down below if you have questions about Webflow, or just let me know if you guys did anything really cool on your website that maybe I didn't mention in this video. I mean, I'm always interested to see like examples of what you guys did or hear what kind of cool stuff you have set up. So definitely let me know or DM me on Instagram, send me your websites. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, like I said, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your website. I'll see you next time.